weekend of derbies in the Serie A and weekend of derbies between the Calcio guys. At least between Gianni and himself, Adreano and his team against their main rival. Here we are on the Calcio guys. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all your social medias at the Calcio guys with Adreano and Gianni. I'm Nicholas. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
I'm okay fighting off a cold, but could be worse.
You could be Roma.
Actually, quite the inverse. I think Roma's pretty happy with this weekend's result, but we'll get there when we get there.
You could be Napoli then, maybe. I don't know.
We could be Napoli.
We might as well start with that, Gianni?
Yeah, might as well.
Derby della Madonnina. Adri has a gem of a picture.
Your Nana's favorite derby.
Yeah. Adri has a picture that he's posted on social media before of Gianni. What is it? Like congratulating, hugging himself with both Napoli and Roma jackets.
That was Spalletti and
Mourinho
at the beginning of a game, one of the derbies in whenever that was, 2 years ago now. And had to put the iconic Gianni face on it. I didn't post it this weekend. I got caught up with stuff, but rest assured it was sent in our chats, and everybody loves the Derby della Madonnina.
Yeah, even Gianni loves Derby della Madonnina. Yeah.
What did you make of it?
Crazy game.
Honestly, crazy game. If you're a Roma fan, you're really happy with this result, and if you're a Napoli fan, you're extremely, extremely disappointed with this final result. It's not how you wanted it to end, especially that you're competing for first place right now. That draw just gives Inter punching distance into getting in. They have a game in hand, and that's 3 points now of a gap that they can just easily make and tie Napoli with. And it also hurts because you play solid throughout the entire game. Pretty much suffocating Roma's good chances, even though they got more shots off. It's there wasn't anything really of superior quality. Mere actually played above his played well. He played very well, made some crucial saves. Besides that last one on Lino, however it's pronounced. But what can you do? You can't stop them all. But for Napoli's side of things, this one's one that you're at the end of the day, when you're gonna at the end of the season, when you're gonna be counting you're counting your points and pinching your pennies, so to speak, in terms of what your results were in the season. This might be the game that could be the make or break for the Scudetto, because it's one of those games. I don't know, it might be. I'm not saying it will be the game. Who knows? Maybe the draw is a merited result, but it still hurts, especially when you look at the whole grand scheme of things, because Inter is a team that's not going to be a team that you're going to have to be they're going to draw a couple more games. No, they're a very strong team. They're not. Their draws are going to be very few and far apart. So that's where it hurts. Roma's side of things, this is a fantastic draw in terms of morale, recent form. When was the last time they lost in Serie A? It had to have been at least 7-8 games ago. About more or less.
I will look that up for you.
Please do
now. 7 game undefeated streak. So 8 games ago, they lost to Como on December 15th.
There you go. Top 10 team of Como. It's gonna happen, and I will be proven right. But speaking of a new top 10 team, is Roma right now with that draw. You definitely want to see that. You're happy with that. Ranieri's era with Roma, even though it's just a quick patch job, it's been paying off very well. I think, especially that last minute goal, it was a great off the volley goal. You can't really it. I felt even though Mere could have he didn't make an effort, it was way too wide for him to even get to it. They were taking some kind of superb jump to reach it, which I don't think 99% of goalies are able to do. So, fantastic job. On the opposite end of things, Spinazzola scoring against his former team. It kind of was I was excited, but it was also bittersweet, because I'm I wanted to do that with Roma some more, but then now obviously he's been transferred to Napoli. Didn't celebrate, which was nice. And it just also makes me wonder, I'm like, what if Spinazzola actually would have came earlier to Napoli and play with guys like Insigne during that time, especially after that Euro Cup run that they had together, like what could have been on that left side, So, yeah. But overall, I mean, Derby della Madonnina ends in the draw. You take that. I say congrats to myself. It's a result, but I always lean more towards like whichever team is racing for the Scudetto, and it is a point. It's better than no points, but yikes, like that's a bit of a dagger, especially when it's towards the last minute of the game. That's a bit of a dagger, right?
Yeah.
When you're in the Scudetto run.
No, I totally agree. And just to add on there, they were played in the later window on Sunday. Obviously with the result in the Derby della Madonnina, Inter dropping points, they could have went up, I think 5 on Inter. So it's a bit of a slip up. I guess these things do happen. You're not going to win every game. And at the end of it, Angelino, hell of a strike, hell of a hit. Salmakers finds him, and but he was left alone. He's unmarked. He has a huge opportunity inside the 18 to take a shot and score, and it's exactly what he does. So it's one of these things. It's like the what ifs at the end, but for Conte's Napoli, I don't think you're going to win them all, and a small hiccup like this, I don't think is going to put a huge damper. But if this kind of thing kind of continues on, it could be worrisome. But I think down the stretch, with Antalata's result as well this weekend, which wasn't a positive one, with their 1-1 draw as well to Torino. I don't know if they're kind of pulling away from the Scudetto race, but it looks like it's going closer to a kind of a two-headed race for the Scudetto between Napoli and Inter. So we'll see. There's still that game in hand for quite a few of those teams in the top 8. So once those get completed, I think we got to have maybe a better gauge of where teams are going to sit and how they're going to fight to finish out the season.
Jenny, I wanted to ask if Toby wanted to join in the podcast. I heard him playing with his toys in the background.
That's Toby?
why. Yeah, he's playing with a squeaky toy. That's why I muted my microphone. There you go.
There he goes.
Yeah, no, I'm trying my best to make sure the mic doesn't pick it up, but unfortunately, it's not working
okay.
out.
We love Toby. We love Toby.
Dog friendly.
I can't tell CK that he's on the podcast though.
Though he's upstairs, he's actually being quiet, so I'll take it.
Just have a dog podcast.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, before we might as well break up the Derby talk with a little Juve Empoli Empoli talk. 4-1 early game for me this weekend, 6:30. I knew I wasn't going to wake up at 6:30. I did end up waking up in time to watch the second half. Thank God, I didn't wake up at 6:30 or anything, because the first half was not the good half. De Sciglio, out of all players, scores the goal. I didn't even know he played for Empoli, if I was going to be honest. And great second half from Juve. Great comeback. Kolo Muani, 2 goals, I believe. Finally, some depth at striker. I've been saying this all season. We needed some depth at striker, and that's exactly where it came from. Kolo Muani scored 2 goals apart, 3 minutes apart, 61st, 64th minute. And after the second goal, I think it was, Mota turned to Vlahovic, who was about to sub on, and he told him something. And, Vlahovic, in his theatric self, kind of had that serious face. It's like, very exaggerated nod. And, I wouldn't be surprised if he's telling him, hey, look, this guy, look what he's doing. Now you go out and you prove yourself to score a goal. And that's exactly what he did. Give him credit. Okay, I know he made it 3-1, but at the end of the day, it's the insurance goal. Conceição out of the other. I was very happy with the second half. It's good to see. But I think at the end of the day, for Juve, it's about this consistency, because they played like this in the first few games of the season, if you guys remember. And everyone's like blown out of the water. I think it was 2 or 3 games they scored 3 goals and won 3-0. So it's kind of like that. But now the challenge is to keep that up. They play Como on Friday, and then after that it's the Champions League against PSV Eindhoven and Adri. I think you'll agree, but I think we're both disappointed that Juve and Milan didn't draw against each other because Milan got Feyenoord, Juve got PSV. It could have been an all-Italian matchup and an all-Dutch matchup, but the soccer gods disagree with that one. It's okay. Play some different teams.
But that's actually a benefit for us, to be honest with you. It helps with our coefficient. And
no, exactly. You could have two Italian teams in the. It would be the round of 16 next round.
Yeah.
Overall I'm happy with the game. And look, like I said, this is what happens when you have that depth of striker and you not only rely on Vlahovic. And you know what I like too? They both played at the same time. So that could be an interesting move, but I don't know if Monta sticks with that full time because then you're putting your only two strikers on at the same time. You maybe save that for the end of the game. But no, that's it for me. But AG, you had the big game this weekend, the Derby. Another 1-1 draw, just like Gianni's Derby. But unlike Gianni, you actually dislike the other team.
Yeah. I'm not shaking my own hand on this one, unfortunately. Only Gianni can do that with his Derby. So listen, crazy game, and the Derby della Madonnina is always a special one. We've had a treat of being able to now see it 3 times this season. Obviously, with playing in the Supercoppa as well, can potentially see it in multiple more times this season. In Champions, and I believe still potentially in Coppa Italia, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's still a possibility. I believe, depending how things obviously go. Listen, it's a huge matchup. Obviously not the result that we want. I don't think either team wanted, unfortunately. Even though Inter fans are going to say Milan got away with murder, the 1-1, they stole the points. Sure, they can complain all they want. That's fine. I think, again, talking about halves of football, I think Milan I would probably say, played the better first half. Kind of a tale of two halves in terms of this derby. Obviously, Inter was pushing and pouring it on in the second half, and obviously we're the better team there. 3 goals called offside, rightfully so. I think Kifi, the referee, was on it for this matchup. Rightfully so. Three offside goals taken off. Was no problem there. The big thing people are going to say are obviously the posts, that unlucky post that they just kept on hitting, which again is you create your own luck, and sometimes when the football gods aren't with you, they're not really with you, and you kind of saw it there. But at the end of the day, you knew Milan goes up 1-0. Tijani Reinders again, just a hell of a player for Milan this season. 10 goals to his name. It's just crazy to see his progression in his role now with Milan. Gets the goal just before halftime, and if there's going to be one thing to say about this game, and again, I've liked Contessao since he's come in. I know we spoke about it a bit last week because we didn't get to speak about it.
The son. I'm talking about the son, though.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like son and father, doing, I think, good enough job so far with the respective clubs. But where I see a mistake is how they approach the second half. You went up 1-0 right before halftime. You sneaked one in. You come into the second half, and it almost looked from minute 46 you were ready to just go out and defend and try to hold on to that 1-0 lead, which in this league and just in this sport is never the best idea, in my personal opinion, because a team like Inter in the derby, they're always going to have chances to come back. A 1-0 lead is never safe. Let alone a 2-0 lead is never safe in sports either. So I would have liked for them to kind of push and go for a second and maybe try to kill off the game. Truly, he takes off Benacer, at halftime pretty much, and brings on Jimenez, and kind of goes with a back five type of tactic to kind of defend and maybe kill off this game. But again, you can only hold up your fort for so long with a team like Inter that, dislike them or like them or whatever your opinion is on them. It doesn't really matter. They are a quality team and they have quality subs that can come off the bench. It's the difference with these top teams in our league. When you have the luxury to bring on, I would say maybe upper of quality players in the second half when you as Milan are bringing on, a 16-year-old wonder kid who that's a big stage in the derby. Guys like Terracciano, a young Alex Jimenez, right wing back. It's just not good enough. There's a clear difference there, and I think we end up paying for that at the end. It's unfortunate because I think in this league and a lot of top teams have gotten away with playing ugly and getting the result. I mean, I think Juve did it for almost 10 years straight, playing ugly football and getting the 1-0 results. So, all the complaining and all the, oh yeah, it should have been a penalty here. There's, they had to hit 3 posts and 3 offside goals. Yeah, okay, maybe it could have been more, and maybe Inter did deserve to win the game. But at the end of the day, it was a 1-1 result. They fought till the end. They got their chance at the end to equalize. It's unfortunate because I think Milan had it, until that end, until the 93rd, 94th minute, whatever it was. It's just, I think a lack of experience in that moment as well. Again, Jimenez has the ball in our own box and he kind of half clears it. I don't understand why you don't just blast that ball out of there and really kind of, fight to live another couple of minutes there, because that's pretty much all there was left in the game. Nobody marking Zalewski, the new acquisition for Inter at the back post. He kind of chested in towards De Vrij, who has a knack of scoring in the derby against Milan. So it's just inexperience, I think, at the end maybe cost us. And obviously, I think Consensao's decision making in the second half, his approach, I would say, I know a lot of Milan fans are not really happy about that. For me, I heard kind of both ends from Milan fans. They'll take the point, but for me, it's really, it almost feels like a loss. And I agree, and I know we kind of had a bit of a segment with our friend Sabrina Belmonte's tweets that she had tweeted during last week's game. But I had seen one of her tweets as well this week, and she kind of echoed those same thoughts of having the draw almost like a loss, and I kind of have to agree. It's unfortunate because we almost had it, even though we didn't play the best brand of football. A win is a win, no matter how you want to shape it. If it's 1-0 or if it's 5-1, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's a win. It's 3 points. And Milan needs these 3 points, all the 3 points they can get, to round off this Serie A season. So it's unfortunate. I think, some of our bigger players, could have maybe done better. I look at a guy like Leao. I think Theo and the defense obviously played well. Pavlovic and Tomori were very, very aggressive. I think, I don't know if Inter was kind of stunned how Milan have been playing them this season. I don't know, because it's finally a year where we kind of have their number a bit after being kind of embarrassed for so many derbies consecutively. But and then Kyle Walker getting his debut in the derby, which again maybe can be a bit worrisome for a new acquisition. But a guy of his experience and caliber, I think, was able to kind of be in the moment and kind of provide his experience in many times during the game. So I would say a pretty decent debut, but we have to do better, especially against a direct rival. We could have made Inter's journey towards another Scudetto a bit more difficult in the round 23. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be. We share the points. And unfortunately, we have to move on. But if we do see them again, I think it'll be another exciting matchup. But overall, it's deflating, but at the same time, it's a point. We're at 38. We have that game in hand. We need to try to crack top four. I don't know if it's going to be possible, but I think that's our saving grace of this season is to crack top four. And it's honestly, I only think it's that fourth spot that is really up for grabs. I think the top three, if things stay the way they are pretty much locked up. I don't want to say 100% because obviously things can change. If the Napolis, the Inters, the Atalantas of the world kind of stay the course, I think they'll hold on to those top three spots. It's kind of that fourth spot that's up for grabs, and there's many teams trying to reach it. So for Milan's sake, I'm just hopeful for a better performance in terms of points this weekend against Empoli. I mean, I know Juve beat them 4-1, but in typical Milan fashion, they're going to struggle against a team like Empoli, whereas they went kind of toe-to-toe with Inter. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what Milan shows up, but I'm hopeful and optimistic that things will well down the stretch.
You want to hear something interesting, guys? So we're talking, you're talking about Inter. So if you look at the top of the table, they're obviously right behind Napoli with the game in hand, 3 points.
Yeah.
Right. So that game in hand is actually going to be played this week against Fiorentina.
Thursday, I believe, right?
Yeah, on
actually,
Thursday.
Tomorrow. No, what are we today? We're Tuesday.
We're Tuesday today.
In 2 days.
So that game is Fiorentina-Inter, and then next Monday is Inter-Fiorentina. So they get to play each other 2 games in a row, and these 2 games could have massive implications on the table because up until now, obviously. I say they have implications on the table. They have implications in Europe for next season, right? Because obviously up until now, it's always like, Juve's looking back at Fiorentina saying, okay, we're ahead, but they have the game in hand. Napoli's looking back at Inter. Okay, we're ahead, but they have the game in hand. This is the game in hand, guys. And I know other teams like Milan, Bologna, they still have a game in hand as well, but Fiorentina's right there. And, if Inter wants to win the Scudetto, this is their game in hand to win. If Fiorentina wants to play in Champions League next year, this is their game in hand to win. So it's going to be interesting. Fiorentina's been playing well. Lately, they beat Genoa this past weekend 2-1. They got Zaniolo and Fagioli. I know you guys want to talk about Mercado. I feel like it's perfect transition. Talk about Mercado. I know Fiorentina, they've always kind of had players come and go here and there. Sometimes there's been players that they come in with a bit more hype, but they kind of don't live up to that expectation. But, you think about a player like Moise Kean, comes in, the bar's low. I don't think a lot of people are expecting him to do as well as he's done. Scored a beautiful goal this past weekend against Genoa. At this point, he has to be called up to the national team. If he doesn't get called up to the national team come March, we have to question Spalletti. It's as simple as that. He's one of the hotter strikers right now alongside Retegui, Italian strikers. So I don't know. What do you guys think, Gianni? What do you think Fagioli and especially your guys Zaniolo? What do you think they'll do at Fiorentina?
I think you said it perfectly before. The fact that they don't have pressure, they don't have high expectations. They're no longer for example, Zaniolo back prior to this. Zaniolo with time at Roma. He was slated to be we need him to be the next big thing for Roma. He's the next big future kid. So it's more about now at Fiorentina, it doesn't have that huge expectation. Obviously, they want him to succeed. They want him to be a good player for the team, but he doesn't have. They're not looking for another. How he was titled the next Totti. They were trying to make him the next Totti, even though he's not really, at Totti's level.
Yeah, he was a young Italian talent. You had to live up to that. Yeah,
exactly. So now he doesn't have to have that when you're playing Fiorentina. And in the case of Fagioli, if you want to reset after the whole scandal a couple of years ago, and you want to get yourself reestablished, or I don't want to say develop a new identity, but I guess clean up your.
It's
identity.
A restart. It's a restart.
That's what it is. I guess a restart is a good way of saying it. So that's essentially what it is for both players. And if you're in Fiorentina, that's what you want. You want players that have something to prove, and they want to change up their vision. Like, I mean, Zaniolo did well in Turkey, but he was still getting hopped around. And sometimes we've seen it before, players that need to take an alternate journey and then come back to like 10 times stronger, or like 10 times stronger. Like look at El Shawadi, for example. He went to China and he had to find himself a bit before coming back to Roma and being back to being a good player. Now, I'm not saying El Shawadi is like the savior, but like El Shawadi has become this very dependable player, and he's not the young El Shawadi from like the days in Milan, but he's still solid, he's still dependable, he's still reliable. So that's what you want. That's what you want out of these two.
Yeah, I think also, I agree with the pressure thing. I think Zaniolo, I mean, it's unfortunate. Has never been the same since his two knee injuries, back-to-back knee injuries. It's just a shame. It's something that in sports happens, and especially then when you become kind of injury prone, there's always something. There's always a knock. There's always something with you, and I think the hype was. The media does that. It's very easy to label, somebody, the next whoever, if it be the next Messi, if it be the next, Ronaldo, if it be the next, Totti, Baggio, Del Piero, whatever. But and listen, I think he's kind of, he's an interesting player. I think he has the talent. I don't know if it's still at the level that he once had, but I think he can still do something. It's just I don't see him being as productive as he could have ever been. So it's unfortunate. The little stint at Atalanta I thought would have been also another way to kind of get his career kind of back on a level track. It was a short stint since Fiorentina wanted to pick him up. So canceling the loan with I think it was Galatasaray that he was part of with Atalanta, and then dealing with Fiorentina dealing with Galatasaray to bring him over. I'm interested to see, honestly, because like you said, Nick, and anybody who follows the league, Fiorentina's in the mix. They're in the mix. They add two pieces to an already again interesting squad with some players that can really do damage. Obviously, you mentioned Keane, Nick, and I think that's the obvious candidate. But it's depth pieces that I think can add to what Palladino wants and what Palladino is kind of expecting of his players. So it's going to be an interesting to see both of them. Fagioli, I don't know. Was he playing with Juve? I didn't really catch at the end.
Sub coming off the bench. It just seems like it was a case of, I wouldn't say a falling out with Mata. I just don't think. I think Mata's really come in and got rid of the players he just didn't want.
Yeah.
No, you look at Danilo as well. Fagioli is another example where they kind of just lingered for 6 months, even though Mata didn't want them, and they sold them. I think they gave up on Fagioli a bit too early. I don't think
that was my point. Yeah.
To be honest, I don't know if he ever would have been a regular starter on Juve, but clearly the talent's there.
And he's still young.
He's still young. I think if they, truly believed in him, they probably could have held on to him, made him, he could have played, started every second match, whatever, played a bit more, and then sell some at a higher value than they did now. Because at this point, it really felt like they gave up on him. I understand that there's the whole story, the whole gambling, and I understand both sides, both Juve and him, wanted that fresh start.
Mm-hmm.
It's just also interesting how they went about it, because they released the series on Prime in the fall. Basically PR, right? For him,
of course,
and they sell him in January. So interesting. Definitely an interesting relationship between the club and player.
But did they sell him, or it's a loan?
I thought it was a sell. I have to look this up now.
Look it up, because there's been so many moves. If it's a loan option to buy, or if they just straight out sold them, I don't know.
Okay, it's a loan with an obligation to buy. So it's a pay me back later.
Exactly. Pay me back in a couple months. What's the fee? Does it say? No,
I don't know.
not sure.
Yeah.
I didn't see the fee either, so that's why I was asking. But it's unfortunate because it's another player that spent some long years at Juve. I think grew up there, right? It's been 10, 11 years. I think he's been part of part of the system there, and it's a shame.
Almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years, right? So when you come from the youth levels all the way up to the senior level, and you go try to make a name for yourself, and it doesn't kind of end the way you want it to go. He looked a bit distraught in a video that I saw. Maybe not distraught, but he obviously looked like it hurts. You spend a decade with a team that clearly that he loved, and has to go away and try to prove himself somewhere else. So we'll see. I think he's still young, so, and I guess even because I know he's still relatively young, I guess you can say, but interesting pickups for Fiorentina, definitely. With at least those two.